I'm really not interested in being cool. I'm interested in being served.
It's easier to just cleanse the earth of these people.
We're part of a small number of American families that own most of the country's wealth.
For funding for their projects that would kill to get into this meeting.
That's right, absolutely, and we make sure they don't get to get in.
He usually says the same thing. We keep getting richer.
No matter who wins, one of them is going to win, which means what? The family always wins.
We're in the top 30 private landowners in the United States.
And at the time, I was like, wow, where did this come from? Now I know that the Mars family and the Gallo family and all these enormously wealthy families bankrolled an effort.
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of people displaced. Yeah, there'll be a bunch of crime problems, but it's easier. We found the easy solution.
Oh, look! George Bush and John Kerry are related to Dracula. Isn't that funny? No, it's not funny, because that means that every single president of the frickin' United States, every vice president, every wife thereof, has been a direct descendant of the Caesar.
All right, so we got Bush, Kerry, Dracula. What's going on here, Clint?
Well, this is actually out of the Salt Lake newspaper. The Deseret Corporation, part of the massive holdings of the Mormon Church. It's interesting because the first thing I ever saw was pointed out to me by Dr. A. Truott. He took me down to the Genealogy Center to show me that the Mormon Church, because it does this, genealogy, ancestry.com thing, or did, it had all these charts. It's pretty amazing to look at these charts. And you had George Bush, and you had the Prime Minister of Ireland, and all these people, and Joseph Smith, and all these people, all the people that were in religion, all the people that were politicians, all the people that were presidents, on kings, and all the way back to this, Caesar. And I'm like, wait a minute. Are you telling me that all presidents are cousins? And are you telling me that all the guys who started religions are actually cousins? Are like direct descendants of these people as well? Are you telling me this? And I'm looking at these charts, these genealogy charts, just amazed. But this one, I think, takes the cake. When you see what I'm going to show you after this, you're really going to understand. Bush, Kerry, kin to Dracula. So basically, the article goes through how both Kerry and Bush, the two guys running for president.
I'm not allowed to comment on politics, actually, so I shouldn't.
A wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, too. Anyway, 75.
From two different parties, supposedly, right? are both direct descendants. And now, this is very important to understand for people, because there's a lot of people out there going to be like, well, what's the big deal? I'm related to George Washington, or I'm related to the Queen, or I'm related to this, right? But it's just it shows how little we actually know. And the reason we don't know about genealogy is because, one, we don't keep track of it, because to them, this is the key to their wealth and their fortune, and who they marry, and who, right? This is everything to them, their genealogy, their bloodline, right? I mean, all you have to do is look at the who's next in line for the crown, etc. And then you have all the royalty of all the other countries. Like we talked about before, World War I was a family war. I mean, why was there a war? Why did World War I happen? If all these queens are directly related, right? They're not. It's not like, oh, he's my cousin. Oh, no, these people are. they're not even kissing cousins. They're direct descendants of each other. So, to understand the difference between a direct descendancy, a bloodline, and being a cousin, right, is so vastly different. Not only in the connection there, but in the record keeping and the importance of it when it comes to your heraldry and all the stuff that these guys keep track of, and why they're so wealthy and why they why they get paid to do nothing and why they are celebrities here and somehow royals there. You know, like what's the difference between the actors here and the royals there? Well, these guys are actually have to act for their piece of the pie, but they're all the same bloodline, right? Not just cousins though, and that's what I'm trying. This is what I want you to look at right here. Okay, look at that. Okay, but I want to specifically. There's Constantine, right? You got Charlemagne, but if you actually look really close, you get into the like 50s, okay, and you're gonna find on here frickin' Julius Caesar and other emperors of Rome, right? You're gonna find other Caesars essentially, right? What you're looking at here, go back to the top. All right, look what it said. Okay, it says ancestor relationships. This is to the guy. Well, this was actually given to all the news articles, which is why I sent you the article too. But it says some famous ancestors of Senator John Forbes Kerry and President George W. Bush. And what's so important about this is that they're listed next to each other. So here are the guys that are running for president from each party. And if anything, this should tell you what the parties are for, because no matter who wins, in the supposed two people who are from supposedly two different backgrounds and two different opinions and two different parties and two different political, one of them is going to win, which means what? The family always wins, right? This is who rules this. And I especially want you to notice that Caesar is on here. When you go to like King, stop. Where'd it go? I saw it on there for a second, but you know, Caesar is on there. Look at the 56th great grandfather, Franconia. You know, the 52nd. It's just amazing. When you're looking at this though, King Constantine the Great. When you look at this, you got to understand. This doesn't say 20th. It says 20th great grandfather and 23rd great grandfather, right? You got to think about what that means. That is a direct. This isn't their cousin. Like Bush doesn't go around and Kerry doesn't go around and all the presidents and all the vice presidents and all their wives and all the Congress, they don't go around saying, I'm the cousin of Constantine. I'm the cousin of Vlad the Impaler or Dracula. I'm the cousin. All right? You got to understand that each one of these people, I wish these were in numerical order, because each one of these people is each other's direct descendancy. So, this is their direct descendancy from the bloodlines. From the blood. The single bloodline, okay? We say it's bloodlines because it's different families. But they're not saying that these guys are cut. Now, what confuses people is that Senator John Forbes Kerry and President George W. Bush, former President George W. Bush, are ninth cousins 2 times removed. And well, that's nothing. That doesn't. No. You're not looking at the right thing. You're not looking at a chart like this. See, I had to pull this back. I had to pull that off the Wayback Machine, off the archives, because they got rid of all these things. All the things that I collected when I did my genealogical thing back in 2012-13. All that stuff was removed from the internet for the most part. The links are still there, and you can go to the Wayback Machine if you know what you're looking for. But you got to understand, the difference between these two things is everything. Now, there's another list, which we don't have to look at, that goes through all the movie stars and all that. And so you'll look and you'll see, oh, look, there's Marilyn Monroe and George Bush is her 5th cousin. And there's this and their 5th cousin. But if you take it from who they are in the line of direct descendancy, then Charlemagne is their grandfather. It's not a cousin in the family distant, which is what we all have, just because we had some intermixture somehow. No, this is a recorded right? Documented. Genealogy is one of those things that are, it's an honorable profession, right? Within the bloodline, it's one you do for life, and a lot of times it's in the family, right? Stays in the family, because again, it's sort of an open secret, right? The way they keep us ignorant, though, is to say, "Oh, look, George Bush and John Kerry are related to Dracula." Isn't that funny? No, it's not funny, because that means that every single president of the frickin' United States, every vice president, every wife thereof, has been a direct descendant of the Caesar. You're the same rulers that rules Rome rule every country of significance. Okay? We have a Caesar right now in office. No matter who goes in office, it's going to be a frickin' Caesar. You have a Congress full of Caesars. Am I getting through to you as to what this really, really means? No, it's not. Oh, what a coincidence. Oh, we're all related. Oh, 7 degrees of separation. Kevin Bacon. There's a board game about. No. That's the delusion. That's the thing that's given to you as goyim. So you never figure out. No, these are direct freaking descendants. I kid you not when I say that the current president, Obama, all of these guys are descendants of the original emperor of frickin' Rome and before, and every empire after. Now, how do I possibly get that through in a way that you understand? There has never been a free country. There's never been any of this lie that we're told. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these guys are all paid actors, right? If you're a politician, you're no more or less different than a frickin' actor. If you're in the news, if you are wherever you are, that you're in a position of protection for these people, this bloodline, because it is your bread and butter. It's where all the money's at. It's where all they own everything through the public systems they've set up, these governments. How do I get this through to people that you are still under the frickin' Roman Empire? Not to mention that the Roman law is still looked at as the basis of our law. You can find that in the law dictionary. Right? If all else fails, go to the law of Rome, the civil law. Not only that, but now you know that the rulers, every single ruler that we've had, every president, unelected by the people, okay, has been a Caesar. I mean, how does one possibly go on with any of the charade that is America or any other frickin' country? Do you know these guys actually built these countries and these national identities? I'm French. I'm German. I'm American. Those aren't real things. Those are ways to control us into being against each other the whole time. We're being pit against each other by these fake nationalities. But people are so damn proud of that notion that they are actually of a country, a nationality, an ethnicity. Ethnicity, do you know what ethnicity even means? It means the language you speak. It's not a race. There's no race. Christians, there's no race. Jews, there's no race. Muslim, there's no. These are not real things. And yet we identify as them and we're controlled utterly by them. And so, again, let me repeat. We have been systematically ruled by a Caesar since the day of Julius Caesar, who is like the 59th great-grandfather of George Bush and John Kerry. And every other president, and for that matter, anyone who ran against the president, because they campaign against each other, right? I mean, if you can understand the difference between genealogy as presented to the masses, to the Goyim, the Gentiles, and the true bloodlines, if you can see the difference, you can see the ruling class. Fine. And this list, which you should put a link up to the Wayback Machine, my God. I mean, it's right there in your face. There's another list there that has actors and all these prominent people and every prime minister and every other king and queen from the other country. It is freaking amazing. And I just, like I said, I wanted to put this forward before we start today, because these are the people that we're talking about. These people who know money, who don't know the limitations of being one of us. Like, this is why they appear so nuts, so psychopathic. So, and I put it to most people, if you grew up in this situation, 99% of us would do exactly what they're doing. If you're given all kinds of money, and all you got to do is party your ass off and keep it a secret, what would you do? Oh, well, no, I'm going to choose to be poor and do this. No, that's no. You would be in the same exact position. So there's a bit of understanding or at least empathy, if you will, for these unempathetic people, right? I mean, they have to at least realize they're just playing their parts, as they all are. And that's why I say it's like an actors club. It's like an actors guild, right? Whether you're president of the United States or on a sitcom, you're an actor. You're just paid to play different roles. I mean, it's amazing to me. And what's most amazing to me is that this has gone on pretty much unseen. Like, this is nobody. I've never heard anybody say that the president of the United States, no matter who it is, no matter what time period of the United States, has been a Caesar or a Constantine or a Vlad the Impaler. I've never heard anybody say that. I say, oh, well, they're direct, they're descendants, and no, they are them. They're the same people. They haven't changed. It's the same psychopathic Draculas of the world. Now, if you take Dracula and you take it as a metaphor, yeah, these are the people that have been sucking us dry of our prosperity, our everything, right? They provide us money and then suck it out. I mean, it's amazing to think that this is the way it is. I could have never imagined growing up and going to school, and I could have never, not even listening to the alternative media, I couldn't imagine it was actually this deep, right? But what else? I mean, the reason I sent you that article is just because this article went to all the news outlets. It says where it went CBS, Fox, all these different news articles, or all these different media companies received this article. March 4th, 2004, Kerry and Bush now shown as closer cousins, press release for immediate release. Where's the list of the list of places it got sent? Oh, here it is. Family Forrest now reveal closer family ties between Kerry and Forbes than those previously appointed or provided to AP and subsequently reported by the Honolulu Star Bulletin, the Drudge Report, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, Chicago Sun-Times, Kansas City Star, and others. There's now calculated, according to the fully sourced ancestral history lineage, linked in family Forrest to be at least ninth cousins twice removed, as more of their ancestral lines, etc., etc. So here's a press release going to all the major media, and the only way they present it is humorously or anecdotally or, oh, look, what a quaint little story. Next in the news, right? So this is where we're at when we're about to present these wealthy elite, as we call them. But let's call them what they are. They're the frickin' Caesars. They are the disgusting Roman upper class that you hear about all the time, and I would dare say that they are the reason that every frickin' nation, including Rome, fell. They keep doing it, and we keep letting them build up this fabulous wealth and then completely destroy it and steal it all and on to the next nation building. We keep letting it happen, and we're about to let it happen here. I don't know when that's going to happen, but every other nation has been 250 years or less. We're at that point. It's built into the system. It's a Ponzi scheme back from the Roman days, and it's really amazing. So I just wanted to make sure we had that understanding before we go and look at these people and wonder, well, why are they so special? Why do they have money? Why are they... Well, that's why. This is why.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's it sound like?
Sounds good.
Can you see anything?
Where's the mic?
There.
Okay.
All right, we good?
Okay.
Good.
What are we going to say if I get busted with a camera?
We're going to say that you're a foreign exchange student. No, we'll say that we're making a video for my father's birthday and we wanted to surprise you.
Nina, where'd I go?
Okay, here goes Red.
No, she can't do that.
Hello. I can go out, don't you? I'd say take a position.
Yellow is dead on red is not dead on yellow. So I can
Hey, Dad, how you doing?
You may not film this.
Would you feel uncomfortable?
Yes, you may not do it. Just go play golf. Go on.
Play golf?
Just go play golf. You cannot film this. I'm serious. Somebody here? Yes, this is my son, Jamie.
Hello, good to see you. Jamie Johnson, that's my dad. Am I a violation of the dress code?
As long as it's white, you're fine.
Well, this is so exciting. You know, I don't think I've ever seen people playing croquet in all white before.
Well, what do you mean? That is the uniform.
This is for the club paper?
Yes.
Great.
Look like a gangster. Take your glasses off. Hey, can you get closer?
Well, I'm going to do my best. Wonderful shot. Are there teams?
Yes, don't you play?
I wish I did.
Well, you should get your father to teach you. He's good. He's hiding that from you.
He's hiding a lot of things from me, apparently.
It's an interesting game because you can use other people's balls.
What a cheer now. Kill, kill.
Are you in college?
I graduated from New York University, and I've been working on documentary films.
How? Really?
Yes.
What kind of a documentary are you doing?
Actually, it's about wealth and issues of social class and things like that in America.
You cannot film this. I'm serious.
That's great. But it's the uniform to be white. He's not. Have you not played the game before?
She instantly got quiet.
Yeah, but see, what sucks about that is not typical of so-called, the public, right? That's just these people. And it's not towards any color, it's toward anybody that isn't one of them. It's not, I wouldn't even call it racial as much as a club. I mean, seriously, it's a perfect example of why they form these clubs, these private clubs in the first place. It's because they can then never have to worry that someone is there watching them as their true selves. But we out here, we don't have this kind of privacy or privy to be this way. We have to work with each other. We have to see each other all day, no matter what your color is, what your accent. We are forced and integrated together. There is none of this that I mean, people joke about it. It's funny. I can say nigga, but I can't say nigga. All right? It's so stupid. This is the real thing, and yet all white people are somehow classed into it, and all the black people, right? But I keep trying to tell black people, especially, Obama is not black. He's one of them. It's the blood, not the color of the skin. And I just really don't think people understand the difference.
All right, I think you're being unreasonable. I think it could be interesting.
Go home.
This is really what makes a family great. The center of a family, what I see as a white, beautiful sphere of pulsing energy, inside of which all of you sit. And you're all atoms growing energetically, helped by each other. And that
I know I'm a lucky guy.
puts out energy, doesn't it?
My great-grandfather started the Johnson & Johnson pharmaceutical company, and my father inherited a fortune worth $1 billion.
Frankly, delight. People of this character are in that first circle.
Every year, my family meets with an advisor to discuss our finances,
When you're looking for
and he
a
usually
person,
says
you're
the
looking
same
for people
thing.
to be in that first
We
circle.
keep getting richer.
And frankly, if they are in that first circle, to protect
In fact, our family's fortune is growing faster than ever. We're part of a small number of American families that own most of the country's wealth. Having so much in the hands of so few can't be good for America.
family of all of you grows.
It's a problem I've asked my father about before, but he has no patience for it.
I can't tell you how how to solve these problems.
Don't reach for that shit.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
We're not done.
We're done.
Dad, just wait. I have more questions.
I don't.
I mean, the guy seems like he's on a bunch of benzos or something.
I'm not an expert on these issues. What do you want from me?
It's obvious that my dad doesn't want to talk to me, and I think I know why. When he was my age, my father made a movie about poverty in Africa. I know his family severely reprimanded him for making his film, and that's probably why he's so reluctant to participate in mine. For them, shining a light on the extreme gap between rich and poor hit too close to home. The wealth gap is hard for rich people to acknowledge anywhere in the world, especially when it's in their own backyard. Today in America, the disparity between the haves and have-nots is worse than it's ever been. Now the top 1% of Americans, like my family and me, own roughly 40% of the country's wealth, and we share an aggregate net worth that is greater than the net worth of the bottom 90% of individuals combined. Even though the last 28 years have brought America the largest economic boom in the history of finance, most of the rewards have gone to those who were already at the top of the ladder, and they still do. Average members of the 1% now earn over $1 million a year, while a majority of Americans earn close to $35,000, which is what the average CEO earns for less than 1 day of work. No one has watched the rich get richer more closely than my family, who manages the fortunes of some of the richest families in the country.
Jimmy, I'm not against you making the movie. The movie is fine for you to make. It's good for you to have something to do with your life, and it's a good project, but you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You have no idea the scope of and the impact of what you're saying is. And before you know it, it has had unintended consequences which you can't even imagine. And it becomes bigger than you ever thought, and it's taken forever to get to where we are. You don't need to go blowing up the apple cart. It's crazy. I hate to see you doing this to yourself.
What about the facts and figures, though? I mean, what about the data?
You're making a fool's argument.
Well, what do you mean it took you so long? Are you saying it took the Jews so long to gain so much power and wealth? Is that what you're saying? It took you so long you finally found a country that didn't kick you out? Is that what you're saying?
It took us so long.
But we know that's not true because we just went over the wealth of this family. So who are you talking about?
By the way, guy, that chart showing the Dow, it's telling you, don't save your money, put it in the stock market.
Impresses me to see you doing it. And you should just do a little bit more work on it.
I don't think Brian does really want me to do more work. When I asked him for the names of other clients I could talk to, he refused to give them to me. So without his support, I'm using my family name to enroll in one of the most exclusive wealth conferences in America, where the wealthy go to discuss strategies for keeping their fortunes growing.
The average net worth of the families that attend our conference is confidential, but it's a pretty large number. There are multi-billion-dollar families represented, a number of them, as a matter of fact, according to Forbes magazine. We don't ask for financial statements, of course, when people register, but we do query them to make sure that they are a sophisticated, qualified family in order to attend. I would say the average in the group today, probably around 300 to 400 million. Certainly some smaller than that, and obviously a number of them much, much larger.
Last name Kushner. I'm trying to think. Do I know another Kushner?
For funding for their projects that would kill to get into this meeting.
That's right, absolutely, and we make sure they don't get to get in.
I knew you'd stop that. Wow.
He just said, we check the family names. We make sure other people don't get in.
The name of the book, Keeping It in the Family Wealth. I mean, what they just said is the reason that me and so many people who, I'm an idea guy, like Brandon and I have talked about this a lot. I'm like, Brandon, I got this idea, but I'm horrible. I'm not a corporate guy. I'm not a business guy. I can't bring it to fucking market or whatever. I don't do marketing. It's just not me. But the idea part and the scope and the size of it and all the details is so here. And if I had access to that kind of think tank, money, etc., the things that I could do, well, the only difference between me and most people is that I'm not an employee of one of their corporations. They're not stealing my freaking ideas. Okay, but the people in their corporations that are working for them, the goyim that are working for them, are certainly never going to be invited to share their idea, right? They're going to assign that idea to the corporation. The corporation's going to patent it, copyright it, do whatever it does. And again, the vampires suck us dry of everything that would benefit everybody. Instead, they get the profits. We have to pay for something that should generally be free, right? I mean, it should be a benefit for all. Government having all these patents, universities, nonprofits having all these patents, and yet we're paying so much money for as a service because now they own it, right? These things should not be owned. If they weren't, we wouldn't have this issue. And, I'm actually surprised that these guys aren't kind of backing off and saying, okay, we've got all this wealth. It's time to start giving back. Not in false charities, not in a fake way, but in a real way. Free electricity, free this, free that, right? They can still make money off it. They don't have to keep people so impoverished and so desperate, right? At some point you'd think they'd be wise enough that this model is going to extinguish itself again. How long do you think it's going to go? Especially if anybody ever sees what we're doing here and understands this. Keeping it in the frickin' family. They just said that you, whoever's listening right now, all you people out there who are not part of this, will never have an opportunity. You'll never get to these people with your idea unless you surrender it to them. And then they might throw you $1 million, of which you have no idea how to handle, and it'll go right back in their pockets.
Yeah, I mean, look what Elon did with Tesla. He bought it from two brothers for what, 100 grand, something crazily low, and now $350 billion later.
My goal as I get older for the families I serve, the few that I'm still consulting to, is to see if I can help them get to their 5th generations in good shape and go on from there. Family Wealth, the book you have in front of you, is about the first 3 generations. From the dozens of families that would turn up at this conference in the early 1990s, there are hundreds of families here today. And if you looked into the numbers that represent private wealth in a large enough aggregation that you'd have a family office, I'm sure it has to be in the many trillions of dollars.
There is much greater good done by the people with the wealth in creating jobs, creating business opportunities, and in philanthropy than otherwise. And I would say that it makes more sense to me to encourage business ownership, encourage wealthy to generate that wealth, so that wealth can then be shared rather than take it from individuals.
See, this same guy back in the 1600s is like, plantation ownership and slavery should be considered, we are giving slaves jobs. We are putting them and giving them food and shelter and taking care of them, and we're putting these slaves to work. I mean, it's the same argument. It's just, what's his name, Douglas said to Lincoln. He said, you created an inequitous money system, which is no better than the chattel slavery you had.
Social policy and transfer policies of Medicare, Social Security, etc. I hope that didn't come out sounding crass, by the way. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to sound, okay. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, don't take the money from me.
In the early 80s, the American economy was rebuilt around the interests of big business and wealthy individuals, with the idea that their success would eventually benefit everybody. This trickled everybody.
See what I mean there? That dude just showed you he was an actor. He just said, how was my take? It didn't come off too, right? He's an actor. And here, what do you have right here? You have the original spokesmodel for cigarettes and all kinds of products, Ronald Reagan and his wife, who is his direct, kissing cousin or whatever. It's just good. And there's his father, the wife of George Bush Sr. is the great-grandmother of one other president. What's the name? What is her name? I can't remember. So that actually gives George Bush Jr. even higher seniority, because now the Bushes and I can't remember. It's Barbara Bush, but it's Barbara. I can't remember the president. Damn it! But so now they've mixed the bloodline again. Because Bush, because his mother is her, now he's even higher up the ranks, and thus he is elected the president because he's got the double, he's next in line essentially for the throne of America.
Yeah, why do the wives look more manly than the guys here?
Well, it's probably more they look similar.
And those Habsburg jawlines.
In 1976, and now his ideas are more popular than ever.
Please be seated. Thank you all very much. It's an honor for me to be here to
Wasn't it you that was telling me Junior speaks? He sounds dumb on purpose.
Well, it's a debate whether or not he's acting dumb, or if you go back to his gubernatorial debates and speeches, he's like the best orator you've ever heard. Now suddenly he runs for president, and he's a complete nincompoop, or he acts like one. But I mean, I think it's an act, and I think, I'm starting to wonder if Biden's old age kind of thing isn't an act.
Well, it's the best plausible deniability.
It's a great way to. It's a distraction. But I mean, isn't that what celebrity is? It's a distraction. This is a celebrity who does nothing but appearances. Like I said, Ronald Reagan's just the spokesmodel. There's all this footage of Ronald Reagan being directed and told what to do by his supposed inferiors. It's not. These are actors. And I guess all the world's a stage, right?
Milton Friedman. He has used a brilliant mind to advance a moral vision.
I've studied, the basics of your theories, and I've read about you in high school economics textbooks.
Now tell me something. You say you've read some of my work. Have you in fact read Capitalism and Freedom?
Well, in school, you're assigned readings, you know what I mean? And then they Xerox it.
Okay. Let me go back again. I'm just trying to see how much of a faker you are.
Okay. Since the 70s, the gap between the rich and poor has been growing.
But what's happened to the level of income of the poor?
It's risen, but in comparison to the top 1%, very, very minimal.
But would it be better if it hadn't risen at all? Would it be better if you had kept the difference the same, but no growth in the bottom?
Well, if we curtailed growth at the top,
you'll kill the growth at the bottom. Look, the engine that leads to the miracles that we've seen, that enables you to have a television camera like that, that engine is ambition and drive to become wealthy.
People say, well, isn't it selfish that you want to get ahead? No, in a sense, if you have a certain talent in a free society, you should have the opportunity to discover what that talent is. Everyone has a knack for something, and develop that talent. And by developing your talent,
they just got done saying we're not going to allow you access to the family money, but everybody's got an equal chance to be. I mean, what a load of shit.
Trying to meet your goals and ambitions, not only helping yourself, you're helping others. You might say I came to the attention of top management at a fairly young age. As my father said, there is nothing wrong with nepotism as long as you keep it within the family. And this is a chateau.
There you go. He said it. He said it right there.
I mean, and by that, because that sounds like it's the same thing, right? Nepotism is the hiring or using or only using your own family. Well, what is he saying? He's saying you marry into it, right? That's what all these marriages are. They're not for love. It's a state building. It's wealth building. So yeah, you're keeping the nepotism. Well, if my family marries into the bloodline, I now have all these people I can choose from nepotistically.
France, where we do some of our entertaining for Forbes International. And the Highlander is used 2 or 3 nights a week by marketing and advertising. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money. Capitalism is, I think, a moral system. And this idea, in our popular culture, you see it in every novel, the businessman's the heavy. In Hollywood, the businessman and the corporation are always the font of evil. But in the real world, even if you have an unpleasant personality, even if you're the kind of person that make babies cry, and you're just out for yourself, you're not going to make it unless you're doing something for other people. And given all the flaws of human nature.
He doesn't know that he's one of those people. They don't know that they would make any baby cry.
I mean, this is literally like a cartoon character.
Sinful view of making money.
Our stores that made the most money had the happiest customers and best co-workers. They were always the most motivated. And there's a relationship between profits and those things. It's not a sin to make money. The first store was this lunchroom. Imagine a line straight back. And then see that extra part back there? That wasn't there. This window wasn't here. It's from here back to that wall and over. It was about 100 square feet. You with me? Here to here, here to here to here. And have to let the customers in, right? Because there wasn't enough room, so everybody had to wait outside. The Xerox machine was there, and I sold these notebooks. First day in business, some guy who was for Kurdistan, cool country, I love it. Before I opened up, in the middle of the night, like at 9 o'clock, he gave me a $50 job. So I've loved the Kurdish people ever since. It was called Kinko's because of my nickname, because I had this kinky hair. And if you think of it, the first thing a baby learns is goo goo gaga. And you think of good businesses like Kodak, Xerox, Google. People remember strong consonants. That's why Kinko's was a good name. But really, I had this big curly hair. And before being called Kinko, I was pube head.
So he had a Jufro.
Right? I'm like, geez. And then, you notice these guys, again, I mean, they all look alike. They all look, I mean, you know what I've been doing lately, like on television, now that they have this satellite or whatever, you know, you go down, you can see the whole cast, right? So I always go over and I look at the producers and the executive producers, and they all look like this. They all have the same. They all look like what's his name that got the Me Too movement or whatever. You know, the guy that got busted for so much harassment. It's funny.
Do you want to make hundreds of millions of dollars on top of what you already have?
Yeah. Yes, hell yes. Yeah, I want to make a hell of a lot more.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, one day I'd like to go to the moon and look at the planet Earth and say, that's part of my portfolio.
It sounds ridiculous, but Paul and a few people like him really do own the world's portfolio. And when you start to look around, the disparity is hard to miss.
You know, you hear them get up there all the time, land of opportunity, you know, all this shit. That's in their head. They must don't ride through the same neighborhoods I ride through. They must don't go through the same towns I go through. They must don't visit and see the same people I visit on a day.
To say that to say these people are out of touch, I mean, it is almost as if they are from the moon, right? And it's the classic story of Elysium, right? They made a movie called Elysium where based on the myth, but where the wealthy live here and everybody else lives here, and everybody's basically in some sort of supportive job to make these people and keep their wealth and their privacy and their security away from that which. What's the difference? This is freaking Elysium. Now, as the guy said, hey, look, we're making more money than ever. We can afford to what? Have a mortgage that we're in debt the rest of our lives. We can what? Oh, this is the good life, is it? Really, to be completely dependent on this money system that they created, right? You talk about Milton Friedman. I mean, Jesus. So I mean, to say they're out of touch. I mean, as he's referring to him, I say it is a form of you've got to be retarded to look at San Francisco right now and say, "Oh, yeah, this is great." This is. I mean, are you looking at homeless camps and saying this is part of my portfolio?
I recently.
You're looking at the skyline.
Yeah, exactly. I recently had a girl tell me that it wasn't that bad in San Francisco. Now, mind you, I know locals that live there, and they're telling me it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, for a while, they had exported all the homeless back out to Oakland and out to the surrounding, across the bay, basically. And it was, I had the bright idea to treat my mom to a stay there on one of the nice hotels, and it just happened to be the center of this, millions of homeless people. It was just amazing to see. Because the area was a fairly well-off area, an outdoor mall, there's restaurants, and then homeless people everywhere. So San Francisco comparatively, yeah, you could say San Francisco looks pretty good, but I don't know if that lasted or not, or if they went back over, or it's just because you export the problem across the bay does not make it somehow magically over.
Wealth
Yeah.
inequality is probably at an all-time high in the United States. We have reached levels of inequality that you've seen only in the oligarchies of South America.
Starting here with the Tale of Two Cities, what you have is a level of concentration probably never seen before in our history. Now, of course, you have tens of millions of workers who can't live on what they earn, and they're earning less in inflation-adjusted dollars than even 1973.
Countries like Peru or Venezuela, Colombia, even Brazil, there have been armed rebellions going on for decades now. And given the sense of frustration among the working class in this country, I would not rule out the possibility of this kind of armed rebellion in this country.
It's hard to say why that particular bullet was shot, but it's a neighborhood where a lot of things are changing, where a lot of people are upset, where people have been pushed out of their homes by real estate value, not being able to pay the taxes, whatever else. I've tried to think about it. I've tried to think about if I were out there and someone else were in here, what would cause me to be resentful or envious.
Hey guys, just bought my Lambo.
Right? I don't know why you'd resent for driving this down your alley where your tent is. Why would you resent me for that?
See, this appears to be someone that acts like new money.
Well, I still stick to my guns here to say that this, the guy refers to an armed revolt or whatever you want to call it. I think that's built into the plan. Because these guys are going to be safe in their freaking islands or mansions, and right, we're going to be guarding them from ourselves, right? But we're going to fight each other because who do you fight? Oh, well, it's the white people. No, it's the black people. No, it's the Chinese that are invading. No, it's the Russians are invading. What are you talking about? It's not the Chinese, right? It's going to be us against us because we're stupid enough to actually let these people rule us since the time of frickin' Caesar.
South side of Chicago is one of the poorest inner city communities in America. But now rich people are moving in and creating some serious changes in the neighborhood.
Mr. Pants? Hey, Mr. Pants. Come on in, Mr. Pants. Pants.
Mr. Pants is my second kitten. I had a kitten growing up, and when I went to get King, my first Mr. Pants, my father told me, you don't have to buy the first kitten you see. Well, I walked in, he kind of came over and purred, and I was like, oh, I want that one, First kitten I saw, I bought it. Well, buying a condo was kind of similar. I walked into this room, and I said, wow, I've been in a lot of the coolest houses in Chicago. I've never seen a room like this. Let's get this condo. So I got with my dad, and we talked about
I like it because it looks like an office, and an office is where I make money.
About it. And I said, wow, I gotta run to an ATM and get the deposit and whatever. I was just freaked out about it. 30 days later, I owned the place, and haven't regretted the transaction since. It's a very thought-provoking place. You see the train go by, and you're reminded that there are other places in the country other than Chicago. And you see what used to be housing projects are suddenly condos, and you wonder what impact you're having on the city and who lives here, who can afford to live here. It wouldn't be such a big deal if the change weren't so drastic. So these buildings used to be public housing. Now they're being taken condo. Sure, you put in new windows and you spruce the place up a little, but the fact is that someone who is using the public housing system lost his home for each one of these units that's being created.
It's happening too quick. The new stores and everything, and the new houses is too quick. The subway right there, all of this is, I mean, it's too quick. It's too make believe to be true. Because like 5 years ago, you would have never dreamed that those nice condos would be there, and then the subway would be there.
Overall, I think gentrification is a tool that solidifies the stratification of classes. There are people who live in an area that becomes 100% people like them. Three big tools have been used in a lot of areas. First, you build a big police station. Secondly, you tear out all the basketball courts. And lastly, if there's a local public school that poor people attend, you tear down the school.
They closed 3 schools up in our neighborhood. The middle school, the high school, and the baby school.
Why?
Closed 3 buildings. I don't know. I guess they trying to push us out the neighborhood. It's.
I mean, there you go. Oh, I don't know why they'd do that. I suppose they're just trying to get us. I mean, are you kidding me? You don't know? You know exactly what I mean. I know the guy's trying to show the contrast between what the guy said before, what Milton Friedman said before, and, he's trying to really disprove that theory that gentrification actually helps the neighborhood or helps the people in the neighborhood. All those people are gone, right? There's no more school. I mean, that was brilliant. I mean, that sounded like a war tactic to me. That sounded like listening to the ancient art of war.
Decent people work. Everybody ain't the enemy. Just say that. Hey, what's happening?
You lived here?
Yeah, I lived here approximately my whole life, 28 years to be exact. So this is the garbage they put up here that they supposed to have been taken down because the problem they had is fixed. This is our lobby. The phones used to work when the police used to have a police station right here. This used to be their police station right there.
What happened to that?
We ran them away. Well, the people ran them away because they was on BS. They got mailboxes. Half of the doors don't lock on the mailboxes.
You see mail?
Do I have any mail? I ain't checked the mailbox today. No, I got a bill. Yep, I got a bill from Tribune that I'll never get the newspaper if they send it to me. The changes in the neighborhood is changes in the neighborhood around us, not to us, around us. We got 1.5 schools in our neighborhood, 35, 40 kids in one classroom with one teacher. He can't teach everybody all, he needs some help. So that's why all the kids, when they go in class, if they ain't getting no attention, they're going to run away.
This land is worth more than what the niggas over here can give them. So what can you do with them? Displace them, and the ones that you don't want over here, you get rid of them. You get rid of them. And what you use as an excuse, use the drug dealers, use the cocaine house. You know what I'm saying? Cocaine dealers. You know what I'm saying? You use the people that's over here doing nonsense to try to get rid of nonsense. We grew up as a family. One building to the next building to the next building. You can sit up here and talk all you want to, but yet still, we love our kids. This is my son. Come here. This is my son.
Do you feel like your kids have an opportunity to get rich in this country?
Hell no. Hell no. They ain't no rappers. My kids ain't gonna be rappers. They ain't gonna be rich.
It's easier to just cleanse the earth of these people, send them to the far.
Well, wow. I paused at the wrong moment.
Cleanse the earth of these people. Holy shit. I was just going to say, I don't even know what I was going to say. That just threw me for a loop, man.
Well, I was just going to say, I read a study the other day. 80% of people under 18 think they're going to be a millionaire.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the tech thing, I think, is a big part of it. But what do the guys say? I mean, how many times do you hear it pushed that to be wealthy, what, an actor or a rapper or a singer, or you're in a band?
Football
right?
star.
Yeah, and a basketball star, right? That is what you think of when you think of wealth. Do you think that any of these lame motherfuckers that we're seeing that are these wealthy people can play basketball? Do you think any of them are professional sports unless they're paid to be placed on a sports team? I mean, this is the fact that we are entrained as a poor, impoverished people, especially the poorest of people, to think that the only way you can get ahead is through sports, acting, singing, rapping, whatever, the entertainment, right? Something artificial. Meanwhile, these guys are crunching all the numbers to take as much wealth as they can from every single individual poor person, not even thinking about sports unless they're controlling the sports book or owning the fucking team. I mean, talk about, I mean, this isn't just disparity. This is, I mean, this reminds me again of, like, even worse case scenario of the movie Idiocracy, if you've never seen that. I mean, it's worse.
Well, the other day I was showing you the TikTokers and the YouTuber influencers.
Oh, dude, I had no idea all that crap was happening. I didn't know they had now 24-hour channels of people. Where, like, here's me sleeping for wow, really? I couldn't have imagined that they had that. But, I mean, the fact that someone would sit and watch someone else's life, it's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, I was showing Clint IRL live streamers where they literally just film each other hanging out, going out to dinner.
It's almost like you're with them.
Yeah,
what they're
exactly.
trying to make you feel like you're part of their
Reaches of the
clan
universe.
But the reason to bring that up.
Would you rewind that before we?
Oh yeah.
Just 2 seconds so I can hear that again.
Yeah, he said something pretty outlandish there. But yeah, the kids see all these influencers. They think, well, I can make it big like that too. I can get a $25 million deal with this streaming platform.
Do you feel like your kids have an opportunity to get rich in this country?
Hell no. Hell no. They ain't no rappers. My kids ain't gonna be rappers. They ain't gonna be rich.
It's easier to just cleanse the earth of these people, send them to the far reaches of the universe, and the mayor's office will build a big police station, build a bunch of townhouses, the yuppies will buy in and bourgeoify it, and suddenly we'll have a community. Yeah, there will be a bunch of people displaced. Yeah, there will be a bunch of crime problems, but it's easier. We found the easy solution.
But so, wow, so that's their contribution? wipe the earth of these people, put them in a commune, build a police station to govern them by force, and that's how they're that's equality or equity, right? I mean, that's how they're benefiting the people, by them having control over the wealth. Wow. I can't believe that guy. I mean, okay, I'm just going to say this, because if I was anybody in that freaking neighborhood and I knew where he lived, I would beat the shit out of him. I would pour salt in his freaking guy. I would destroy that car, destroy everything about him, because that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, there's a reason why he had a bullet hole in his window.
Because we want to discourage the poor from having a lot of children, and basically surviving. That kind of social Darwinist notion has stayed alive in certain quarters, and I believe that it is there behind much of the economic policies we are now seeing.
Look, there never in history been a time when the ordinary people of this world, and particularly in the rich nations like the United States, Britain, and Europe, never been a time when the ordinary people have had the level of income and living that they now do.
But what about the tens of thousands of people whose lives were affected by the
You can't
decision?
make an omelet without breaking eggs.
Look, you can talk about income, but it's another thing to talk about mortgages, car
You know,
payments,
good result.
interest.
But there's no question.
It's also, I mean, there was such a thing as going to Taco Bell, spending $5 and getting 5 different things. But now you go to Taco Bell or any freaking restaurant and, oh, I went to McDonald's and it cost me $20.
Yeah.
Because to order anything decent, you'd have to pay, you know, it's like what going to a decent restaurant 15 years ago is like going to a fast food restaurant now. Why would you even go to fast food when you can pay less at a place, you know, like a typical Black Bear restaurant or whatever? Doesn't even make sense to me. So, again, this out of touch notion, and just to be clear, what capitalism means. All these words they throw around: freedom, remember, means franchise. Capitalism is a term that means per the head. Capita is the head, or by the head. So when you're doing accounting and when you're considering what capitalism is, considering that the dollar represents all of the interests of all of our property and us, okay, that is what backs the good faith and credit of the United States, right? It's all of our property, right? It's everything that we believe we own, including us. That's what by the head. That's what capitalism. We are the chattel part of the capital system. We are what's being traded in ways that we don't really consider, right? When you're trading, when you're trading, they call it commerce in souls. Certain types of business, for instance, prisons, right? Prisons where the private prison is built and funded for privatization of infrastructure, right? And then the prison makes a deal with the government that the government says, okay, we're going to pay you every month, every year, we're going to pay you as if you have a 95% occupancy, right? So no matter what you do, okay, we're going to pay for 95% occupancy, which gives the government then a very, very good incentive to put more people in prison and build more prisons, to guarantee more prisoners, to guarantee all the taxes and the services, raise taxes, do all these things. And you take that and you pretty much apply it to all the different functions of commerce in souls, whether it be the mortgage industry, whether it be whatever it is. You start to realize the stock market is really a trade in people. And I don't know if that is clear, because the only other thing it actually can be and is the trading of digits that mean absolutely nothing in reality. Okay? But what those digits do mean in the face of everything else, what do those digits actually affect? The economy. What is the economy? How you keep your household? The only thing that you can look upon the stock market and all the investments the government participates in, the rights, the real estate investment funds, all these different funds, is an investment in various ways that we are in debt or in out of control of our own lives. Some way that we are dependent on something, that thing is being traded, right? And profited upon by these people. And if we're smart enough, like you said, you invest in your own frickin' enslavement, which is the stock market. If you're smart enough and you understand how things work and you want to be wealthy like them, that's what you frickin' do. Meanwhile, you make your own situation much worse as the capitalism and the wealth inequality keeps getting larger and larger. But then they say this, they say, well, look, people are living better than they've ever lived in their lives. I would love to take this a-hole, this Nobel fake frickin' laureate, right down, drop him off in the middle of Compton, tell everybody who he is and what his opinion is, and see how he survives. And never let him leave. I'd keep him there. See, this is the kind of things that I swear it would be a great reality TV show to take the absolute wealthy and have it like be a survivalist show. See if they can actually function without money or anything else in these neighborhoods for a day. That's what this guy should be doing, not these stupid documentaries. That's what he should be doing. He should be on a reality show for wealthy people. See if they can survive a day in Compton.
Doesn't it make you nervous when you see so many powerful and extremely wealthy individuals sitting there directly influencing those politicians when we're in a democracy?
They're not influencing anything. They're playing a role in the political system, but Congress is ultimately going to be influenced by public opinion, by what the public wants. The public...
They're playing a role. Who else plays a role? Actors. They're actors.
Yeah, he just said it. Again, this guy too. He's like a cartoon character. This Milton Friedman.
A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
In the 1980s, the U.S. government illegally sold weapons to a...
Wow, that was some wizardry there. I said I did one thing, but...
I got caught selling weapons to our supposed enemy. Meanwhile, I've got my hand shaking the sheiks, and hugging and kissing because we're actually the same bloodline. And that doesn't matter. The point is, I sold arms to Iran.
Iran.
And I am not an actor.
To support Nicaraguan rebels in what turned out to be the Iran-Contra scandal. At the center of the deal was one billionaire who had unfettered access to the secret workings of the U.S. government.
We got involved in this Iran-Contra story, which unfortunately backfired a little bit on everybody. They asked me to finance it. I said, okay. So I gave credit to money and paid me back. It was supposed to be a hush-hush operation.
See, that's the thing, man. Who was it? Was it the U.S.? No, it was the CIA, a organization that they pretend is not under the control and say it's a rogue organization. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do too if I want. I mean, if the IRS says, "Hey, oh no, I didn't spend that money. My ridiculous son spent that. He's rogue and out of control, and so I can't. I'm not going to report that. Or right? I'm a Biden. What do you expect? My son does all these crazy sexual favors for people. What do you want? Right? It was my son. He's rogue. Oh,
Speaking of Biden,
the CIA. It's out of our control. What a bunch of shit.
Speaking of Biden, your prediction was pretty spot on.
Was it a prediction, though, or just the obvious? I mean, at some point, at some point, it's not even a prediction. It's just, this is history. This is how it always goes, right? So yeah, Biden's going to go down for taxes because nothing else can be put on him because Why? Because you can't enforce moral law.
As
But what you
business
can
people, we have
enforce are
ways
taxes.
of manipulating the government officials, and they have ways of manipulating us. I take advantage of opportunities that come in all relationship in the world. When you have contact, like if I have contact with you now, I'll call you when I arrive in New York and say, "Hi, Adnan, I want to see you." I have to. It's nothing abnormal. You probably will take me out to dinner and introduce me to another person who I make business with.
But when you helped connect the United States government and the Saudi government over sales of weapons, what would you call that?
Marketing.
If you compare this to what we just saw in the neighborhood, they'd say the same thing. Well, okay, you're ensuring that drugs permeate the street, right? You're closing schools. You're making it difficult to exist in the area. You're shutting down buildings and turning them into high price. What would you call that? Oh, well, it's marketing.
25 years in the United States, that the amount of money flowing into the system for political contributions has been a major shaper of who gets what within the economy, because they always want something, whether it's a tax change or it's a change in regulation or it's a subsidy or what have you. And as a result, there are a number of studies that show the people giving the money have often had the greatest benefit in terms of what happened to their stock price or their own personal fortune.
Meet the kings of sugar. Critics estimate these plantation owners make an extra $65 million a year off the sugar program in American consumers. The government puts the total cost to consumers at least.
Again, I have to say, what is sugar? It's a commodity.
Yes.
What is traded on the market? A legal drug that causes more health problems than probably any other ingredient in the world. This processed frickin' sugar. It's a legalized drug that's traded on the stock market and is considered a basic indicator of the economy. I mean, how fucked up is that?
Well, yeah, you can trade sugar, you can trade soybeans if you wanted. You can trade events nowadays. They got events futures.
I will bet $10,000 on a weather future. I am now in the business of predicting the weather or altering it so that it meets my prediction.
The Von Hools. There is no story of the Von Hools. If you're got me up this morning to talk about the Von Hools, and we're making an issue of the Von Hools as such, we could get it over with in a hurry.
In that fatal moment in the Oval Office, when Bill Clinton was confronting Monica and telling her it was over, he's interrupted with a call from, it turns out, Alfie Fahnholt. Alfie Fahnholt was very concerned that Al Gore had made a speech the day before saying that sugar companies were going to have to pay for the cleanup of the Everglades. So while Monica sat there in her tears, Bill Clinton spent 22 minutes on the phone reassuring Alfie Fahnholt that everything was okay, that they would be true and blue, and even that Al Gore guy, he's just saying that to get elected. Keep giving us money so Al can be president.
Nobody knows exactly what it costs to produce a pound of sugar in the Everglades, but it's the second most profitable crop to tobacco in the United States, and it has made the Von Hool family extraordinarily rich. The incredible thing is that for every pound of sugar grown in the Everglades, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of tons, the American taxpayer guarantees a price of 22 cents a pound, way above the world price of 7 cents a pound.
The sugar program is a combination of import quotas and a guarantee that the government will buy any surplus. It limits dramatic.
That's the same thing. We're going to guarantee that we're going to pay you to have a 90% occupancy rate in your prison. We're going to pay you 22 cents for sugar no matter what the world economy is, and therefore we're going to get that's organized crime between these families. That's I mean, look, I don't know how to say it, but that should be instantly taken, investigated, and the politicians who passed such a bill, or they should be arrested for whatever the charge. I mean, but that doesn't happen. But this goes on with everything, and again, tobacco traded on the stock market. All these things are traded as commodities, and I'm supposed to believe that capitalism is somehow a good system. I'm sorry. A democracy, right?
But I was just gonna say, but democracy.
They're producers. And that results in the price being artificially raised. There's a shortage usually. And so the U.S. price of sugar is higher than the world price.
So you can go to Canada and the price of sugar is 1/3 of the United States, or Mexico is 1/3 of the price in the United States. And they guarantee the price. So if there is too much sugar in the United States, the federal government will buy the sugar at the high price. It makes zero economic sense.
Well, okay. What do you think's going to happen? Right now you're in the heyday of marijuana being suddenly legalized everywhere. What do you think is going to happen when these massive growth cities happening down in Palm Desert, California, and places there? What do you think is going to happen when this becomes a commodity, like sugar, like tobacco? Do people really think that legalization is somehow freedom? Or no, it's just going to lead to the exact same thing they're talking about here. It's going to take time. It's got to be legalized everywhere, right? They got to go state by state because it can't do it. They're going to do it nationally. And once that happens, you can see what's going. Again, it's not prediction. It's simply looking at every other thing. That sugar is a great example.
Yeah, speaking of cannabis, I was telling people, you don't want legalization, you want decriminalization. But no. I was looked at as the idiot. But Brandon, people are going to be freed out of prison if I vote for this. That's what they told me. You can't make this shit up, people. And look what happened. People are still in prison for weed. You can try to explain to people, but it's just not good.
Because if something is considered in a legal form, then it is property of them. So any use of it by you acting in person is property and under their system. So legalization means that it's still illegal except if they give you permission. But not everybody gets permission. It's practically impossible to get into the business because most parts of it are already franchised out to these people. You don't get to go to their meeting and say, hey, I'd like to join in the party. You're not going to, it's a freaking drug. What do you expect? They're drug dealers. They're just legalized, right? They have permission to be drug dealers, which is what you want. But if it was decriminalized, if it wasn't a legal issue, if I sold you rose petals, for instance, right, there wouldn't be a problem. But I'm selling you a full plant. Oh, now it's suddenly illegal. Now they have control of it. If they've destroyed nature and its properties in order to make it a property of the matrix, the artificial system, and therefore you can't get it without jumping through hoops, getting a license, getting this, getting that, voting for legalization. But I see the other thing about this is I don't give a shit what your state did to legalize marijuana or make it. You're a U.S. citizen. It's still illegal for U.S. citizens. Just because they're not enforcing that, oh, gee, I wonder why. It's because they've altered marijuana to the point where it's got no medical benefits. It's just making you stupid and, right? I mean, it's not a double helix Monsanto marijuana. Great. That's all you're going to be able to get eventually. It's not going to have any benefit for you because everything that's good is made and kept illegal.
Here the country is running a $500 billion a year deficit, and we're subsidizing sugar production in the Everglades, which is damaging the same system that we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to repair. If you really think about it, it's nonsensical. It's even comical. If it wasn't so hideous, it really would be.
That is not nonsensical. That's not nonsensical at all. That's fucking business as usual. Cause the problem, create the solution, right? I mean, you can't have a solution without a freaking problem. You can't charge taxes for a cleanup if there's nothing to clean up.
The Von Hool family makes
That was a little cringe.
Become very wealthy because of a government program. And there's no reason why the federal government should create a program to make the Von Hools richer. We're in effect subsidizing the Von Hools and hurting the American public buying products that have sugar in it.
One was the Republican, one was the Democrat. Alfie Von Hool was the single largest contributor in Florida to the Clinton campaign, and his brother was the largest contributor to the Republican Bob Dole campaign. They had it covered either way.
It's like the Koch brothers.
And that's exactly my point. When Kerry ran against Bush, when Douglas ran against Lincoln, when Gore ran against, it's the same thing over and over. And you continue to support one party or the other, which is, I don't know, it's like, I'm not drinking Pepsi anymore. I'm going to drink Mountain Dew. It's the same company, you freaking moron.
Exactly.
What we're talking about is somewhere over.
Oh, and let's not forget, the same firm manages each family's trust.
$100,000 to various people in contributions to the Republican National Committee. They are putting down, in most of these cases, their occupation is with the Florida Crystals Corporation.
That's the sugar corporation.
Yeah. That's them. Money doesn't decide every issue in politics, but most issues it plays a major part in. And if you're going to try to understand politics and why things happen the way they do in Washington, you have to, as they say, follow the money.
That's an industry.
How democratic is that?
It ain't. It is called.
After this whole film, my nose is starting to feel really small.
Free enterprise. His free enterprise.
While Alfie and Pepe Von Hool get richer off government programs, the towns where they base their businesses sink deeper into poverty.
Well, this city of Belgrade is a labor community because we have a lot of agriculture in the area. Sugarcane being the largest, and it has a vast majority of ethnic backgrounds or what's that word I'm looking for? Ethnicity.
When sugar barons like the Von Hools needed cheap labor, the U.S. made an exemption to immigration laws. Foreign workers were imported on a special visa to cut sugarcane to third world wages.
It really disappoints me. I'm saying, but you gotta see it. It's a system, you can't beat it.
Everybody from Jamaica come here. They come here to achieve something. They support them family.
Real hard work. Sometimes our supervisor tell us, boys, it will be blood, sweat, and tears. And it was.
I used to see people, man, go out cutting canes when I come to visit my cousin. They come back, lacerations, the canines, they cut them in the hand, chop them in the leg.
As a man cut off in thumb, clean as a man bust in knee. I see a lot of things going on in the field.
The figures show that every year it was an average of 10 workers killed in sugarcane work. When the government came down as part of their review of the Sugar Act to see that the workers were being paid properly, it found massive minimum wage violations throughout the sugar industry. This, we believe, cost the workers probably, certainly millions of dollars a year, maybe as much as $10 million a year.
It's a lot of time we know that we was short pay are doing some work for a lot of lesser money more than we.
So $20 says that the solution of the investigative panel, or should I say Congress, whoever handled the final decision on this, $20 says that their solution to this, okay, you shorted all these workers, you violated our minimum wage law, you, sugar companies, are going to be fined billions of dollars, and it's all going to come to government. None of it's going to come to these employees. I will bet you that's what I don't know anything about it, but I'll bet you that's what always happens. It's always the government fines, and then no justice is served to the people who get harmed. But if you think about it, again, business as usual, because how else is that $1 billion going to be stripped from the company that they're subsidizing in the first place? It makes perfect sense. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but it makes perfect corporate business sense. And to the psychopath, absolutely sounds like business normal, no moral issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who's making this film, Jamie Johnson, remember, from the Johnson Johnson family, who we just went over on the last video, that they were fined by the government.
But ain't nothing much we can do about it.
Yeah. Guys go out there and they work all day long. How much you made today? $35, $40. You got to work your behind off to make $50.
Although the Van Hools deny wrongfully cutting wages and putting their workers' safety at risk, eventually mounting lawsuits and increasing scrutiny caused them to mechanize their sugar harvest. Many of the migrants who had come to work in their fields stayed in America, hoping for other opportunities.
So, to translate, fire the people that are that you're paying nothing to, right? One of your other cousins has a great machine that you can use in place of the human labor. The human labor now has absolutely nothing, can't even afford to live in the slums provided by the sugar industry, and now it's mechanized, and you don't have to pay the worker anything except to maintain the machine.
Do you think it makes it difficult for the people living in that community to change their lives when they're raised in that community because they live in those conditions?
No. I mean, there's a lot of talent down there. A lot of talent. This community here has produced several famous football players. Okay. Fred Taylor.
Oh, there it is. No, there's a lot of talent. Isn't that what Caesar's guards would say about a potential gladiator?
For the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So that's the way they...
I mean, that's just one of the ways. Jesse Hester used to play for the Colts and the Raiders. His family lives right back here. I mean, that's just one of the things. I mean, and then there's other athletes, and there are a lot of talented people in this community.
It's hard to believe that just a few miles down the road from Belle Glade is one of the richest towns in America, Palm Beach. The contrast between the two communities is astounding, but most rich people have come to accept the blatant inequality as a way of life in our country. I know my father is different. He struggles with it. Yet every time I turn the camera on, his instinct is to keep quiet.
We're in the middle of the meeting, you come in with the camera. We don't want to talk on camera about what we're doing.
Well, I just think, if we're secretive.
Secretive about what?
About wealth, about the American aristocracy.
Well, it's written up in every paper twice a year. They tell you with a nickel how much you're worth. What's the secret?
Why can't I be secretive? Every man's house is his castle in this country.
There's nothing wrong with shedding light on that and reviewing it, and then hopefully it corrects itself.
Well, I want you to be careful, and I mean that. It's your personal family.
Well, you made your movie, and now you don't want to talk?
Jamie, what is so dark here? What do you think is going on? What are you talking about?
Take this camera and your film and do another person or another family. It's not going to happen here.
It's frustrating because I know when my dad was my age, he had something to say about social inequality. And I think the subject is so complicated for him that now he chooses to avoid it at all costs. But for some rich people I talk to, inequality is easy to understand. It's preordained.
If you inherit money, then you feel, why did I get all this and somebody else is poor? Well, God had a reason for that. God's never going to give you anything that you can't handle. People mistake the Bible as something that you put on the shelf.
I'm sorry. I had to pause that. Oh, wow. It's ordained.
After Sunday, but it is a guideline that you run your business by, you run your family by, and you run your life by, and you will succeed. We have about $260 million in sales, and we have 1,150 employees. We're in the top 30 private landowners in the United States, and we're the largest private landowner in Louisiana.
On the plant, and that shows each worker how they're doing real time. It's like the proverb, don't muzzle an ox while it's treading. And what that means is keep everybody happy and they will do a lot better job. We have a plasma TV in the
call this
in the
employees'
lunchroom
office.
so that we can communicate better with the employees. You might have seen some scripture up there.
Is that from the Bible?
Yeah, Marketplace Ministries is a company chaplain service that we offer free to our employees. They get breaks during the day and they can come in the lunchroom, have Cokes and sandwiches and so forth, and get their informations, infomercials, I should say, up there.
They see what's happening.
It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. Back then, rich people in the Jewish states were the most pious. They were the ones they thought that God favored the most because they were wealthy. Just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're not going to get into heaven. It means that God has given you a lot of assets to be stewards of, and He's going to sit back and watch how you do it.
I think empathy is a very, very important quality. You can't even motivate people or have a business if you're not empathetic to your customers and workers. Hi. How you doing?
Crazy, crippled,
Well,
out of my mind, eating my bread and, taking a little nap,
Yeah.
I got this t-shirt. It's kind of crazy.
What's a good black and white's a good combination nowadays. Oh. Go
50 cents.
50 cents. That's good.
Hey, you got $1? Okay. That would really help me out. And I can go to the store and fix myself up.
Okay. Hey, thanks for coming by.
Hey, cool. And what is your name?
Paul.
Hey, Paul. What's up,
Nice to
Paul?
see you, buddy. Take care. They don't usually give homeless folks money. Unless a homeless person is playing music or trying to better.
Unless it's on camera.
Yeah, it's on camera. Of course, I wouldn't normally.
Don't do much. In this case, I thought the most genteel way to also have him leave was possibly give him $1.
Genteel?
This is also how we get people out of our neighborhoods that we want to improve upon. We give them $1.
Ambiguous thing. You should have a little bit of guilt and a little bit of pride. I don't know how to answer it.
I'm the great-grandson of the meatpacker Oscar Mayer. And when I was 16, my father told me that I was going to inherit enough money, so much money that I wouldn't have to work. But I made a decision to give up that wealth. I grew up in a wealthy suburban community. And I went to school with kids who came to school in chauffeur-driven cars. Kathy Iacocca. His dad was Lee Iacocca, Alfred Taubman's son, who owned Sotheby's auction house. These were the kids I went to school with. So I grew up in a wealth bubble.
So he knew the family, doing all of the money laundering in the art world.
Something wrong here. Something about unfairness. That's about as much as I remember that little seed was probably planted then. And then I wrote my dad a letter basically telling him that my intention to give away the money that I had. He called me after he got the letter. He said, I'm coming to Boston. I want to talk to you about this. And he came out and he said, you've been away from home for about 10 years now. I don't quite understand this decision. Maybe you should sort of tell me what's happened since you left home. And so he listened to me for a while, just talk about that. And then he kind of, at the very end, he says, okay, I understand what this is about. I don't think it's a good idea. And my questions have to do with, have you really thought through all the consequences of this? Like, what if you have a child one day and that child has a severe disability? And he really pushed me on all these what if questions, all the sort of worst case scenarios. For me, it always came back to, well, I would be in the same boat.
What if your son is poor? What if he doesn't make anything of himself? Wow, so let me get this straight. If my son has a disability, money is in my pocket's going to make me feel better?
One of the people I know. I do meet people today who say, it's hard to get by on 50 million, I need more. I think those people are sick, to need that much to have a good life. I think you gotta take a look at yourself there, buddy. If you feel like you don't have enough at that point.
I'm in Los Angeles and I'm staying at the Beverly Wilshire. People ask me why I stay at the Beverly Wilshire rather than other more trendy hotels. And my answer, I think it's an important point of distinction, is that I'm really not interested in being cool. I'm interested in being served. I'm from Italy, and in Italy, I possess money.
Ouch! That was horrible.
I'm really not interested in being cool. I'm interested in being served. I'm from Italy, and in Italy,
wouldn't any prison guard or tyrant or king or president say the same thing?
But also notoriety. I possess money, but also notoriety. Notoriety for what? For having been rich for, say, 5 centuries. When I moved to New York, all I was a young kid with money. And I really felt that there was something missing. At home, I was, the Baron. Here in America, you're nobody.
Are you a model or you act or? I'm just asking.
No, I don't do anything. Actually, that's the point of the
whole documentary.
I'm just like a rich dude in Rodeo Drive, and the fact that I don't do shit, you know, that's here. There's no monarchy that can knight you and say you're a baron now, but there is the media. And so what I did was I hired a publicist.
There you go.
Yeah, dude, this is what we were trying to say earlier too.
PR.
This is the American royalty, and there is no American royalty, but there is. It's obvious there is. Like I said, go down that list of presidents that are all related. You know, I don't know why this isn't seen, and why it's so strange to me. The worship of celebrity, and it's become stranger and stranger over the years, especially after working in Hollywood. But I you know, here's a kid who he just basically put the whole story down for you in just a few sentences, which is because there's no recognized royalty in America, you still have all the royalty and the money, you just don't have the title, and so you have to make yourself into something. While in England there's whole TV series called The Royals, just follow, like the Kardashians, but following these royal people around that they do nothing, right? They're just celebrities. They're famous for being famous, right?
And started doing events and red carpets. All of a sudden you are a baron in a different way, but in a contemporary way. Today, I'm in Los Angeles for some meetings with some production.
I propose this is why actors get paid such top dollar. They are frickin' barons and royalty. That is who makes it in Hollywood, and I think that's the only way to legitimately do nothing and still do something, right? And still have that money come in. And then you have the family. Like, I know firsthand, working in Hollywood, that people who come there thinking they're going to be famous end up bartenders and waiters calling themselves actors. I know for a fact that everybody who's in Hollywood is related,
companies,
and somehow they're all Jewish, and yet somehow they're all royal.
A reality show.
Is there a difference? Personally, I don't think so.
The show, which would be featuring me. America is fascinated by seeing the trappings of wealth, and more specifically rank. Americans rejected inequality at the inception. They said no to aristocracy. They said no to all of this. But at the same time, when you shed your sins, you retain a secret desire of having them back.
Always the philosopher.
Right? Oh, you know, yeah, secretly women want to be raped. Secretly
In America,
slaves
some
want
of the
to be
richest
abused.
citizens are treated
you know,
like aristocracy.
I'm just fulfilling
Even
my
when
part.
citizens are treated like aristocracy, even when they go to great lengths to control how the public perceives them. When I contacted Warren Buffett about this film, he refused to talk. But a friend introduced me to his granddaughter, and she invited me to her home to show me what life is like in the second richest family in the world.
I'd be pretty mad if I was Warren.
Well, the truth is, she wanted to be seen, just like the previous guy. She wanted an outlet for her life to be put on camera. There it is. They're going to jump at it. They'll jump at any opportunity, even if it means exposing their own freaking wealth secret.
I've been very blessed to have my education taken care of, and I have my living expenses taken care of while I'm in school. After we're out of school, we don't get any money from our family. I work for a family here in San Francisco. I do a lot of organizing of just things in their home, organizing of toys. I'm actually pretty good at looking at a very messy closet or space and making order out of chaos. So that's something I'll do before the kids come home. And then usually when the kids get home, I'm responsible for very general things like bath time and dinner time and homework time. I think it's a very weird thing to be working for a very wealthy family, considering I do come from one of the wealthiest families in America. And I feel that the family I work for feels a bit of humor around the fact that I am from one of the wealthiest families, a wealthier family than I believe they are. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I think that might be the case. And I think we all kind of find it odd and also just wild and a little bit funny that that's the case. Since I was like 18, I've been totally focused on making art, being an artist. I transform a lot of my questions, doubts, and fears through art. I feel very fulfilled. I feel really happy.
I suppose do you suppose that this is like an unartistic family, and so they created an art market of crappy art, and they decide which is good art, and therefore all the crappy art that they make, it's like they don't have a creative bone in their body. And then they, look, I'm going to put a bunch of paint on a stick.
Even Jackson Pollock was better than that.
Oh.
How do you feel like your grandfather would react if he saw you in this video?
I definitely fear judgment. Money is the spoke in my grandfather's wheel of life. I think either people are coming from a place of love or fear, and fear drives us to want to hold on to things and not share because we're afraid that there's not enough for ourselves, and if we let go, you know, we're gonna not have enough for ourselves.
Fear is what stops most wealthy people from talking about their money. In many cases, children in wealthy families are nervous that they're going to get punished for what they say. I don't think Nicole or I expected how severely her grandfather would react to her presence in this film. But after the shoot in her studio, she received a letter from him that surprised us all. In the letter, he states the relationship is over and that she is no longer a member of their family.
The rest of my family adopted you as a niece or a cousin. Because I was in this film, you know, it has made Grandpa, you know.
So she's not.
Upset to the extent that now he's going to say I'm not his real granddaughter. And this picture of Grandpa.
So that's why she's okay.
This explains a lot.
This picture of Grandpa and us as little girls here. I've spent months and years of my life at his home in Omaha with just my twin sister and I. In spring break, we would go and visit him, and we would stay in his home, and it was just us, and we spent so much time bonding as to make money to live. And so
I don't think I've ever seen a Jew adopted before.
Necessity is taken to an extreme.
That's pretty odd.
Of necessity is taken to an extreme. There's an imbalance there. And with that monetary imbalance comes an emotional imbalance.
At the same time of Nicole's struggle with her grandfather, Warren Buffett came out and announced that he was giving a majority of his fortune to charity. I asked Nicole how she felt as the world celebrated his generosity.
I feel that who my grandfather is publicly, as a public figure, and who my grandfather Warren Buffett is as a grandfather, as a father, as a brother, as a son, are two completely different things.
Warren Buffett's reaction to the film ended up in the newspaper. My family started to get nervous, and they called me in for a meeting with my father and his financial advisor.
Jamie, I don't agree with the thesis of your movie. I don't respect the way in which you documented it.
I don't know that you're right. I mean, I think this movie's taking in a good direction. I think so far I've learned a lot. And I think, if anything, what I've seen suggests that some of my original thoughts about it were on the right track. And I don't understand why your resistance would be so severe. I mean, if it's not a threatening thing, then why are you reacting this way?
No, Jamie, I'm not freaked out by the project. I'm disappointed in what you conspired to do with it.
Jim, you think Brian's right?
What do you mean, Brian? He's upset. I can understand it. I'm not sure whether he's right or wrong, but
I feel like this movie is a good idea, and I feel like I've got to go forward with it either way.
I can't take anymore. It's too much for me.
Oh, dear.
Well, Brian, I don't understand why.
I'm human. I get pissed off when you say, okay, fine, I'll go do my homework, and you don't. I don't need it. It's a pain in the ass. You're behaving like a little arrogant trustafarian. You know, come on, give me a break.
I'm not surprised that Brian is upset with this movie. His job is to ensure that members of the 1% keep getting richer. And for him, the growing wealth gap is an indication that he and people like him are doing their jobs. But not all rich people see the growing wealth gap as a good sign. For some, it's a problem that needs to be reversed.
People who have been enabled to accumulate very, very large wealth have an indebtedness to society for having made that possible. They live in a place which generates individual wealth. The creation of the microprocessor, the human genome research, the internet, none of those things would exist but for the $90 billion that the federal government spends every year on basic research. People don't really see the role that the
Does he care to mention DARPA, who actually invented the internet?
Is he going to mention that he was wasn't he the
Hold
Nazi
on.
collaborator?
What if we
Hold on.
What if we had a slightly more aggressive tax system and supported the bottom?
You would have less growth, and the bottom would be poorer. Would in the end up worse off. You would do harm, not good. Look, people don't pay those high taxes. They find ways of getting around it. And you're never going to be able to stop them from finding ways to get around it.
I mean, I think there's definitely merit to that, and I certainly wouldn't advocate socialism.
Well, you are advocating, excuse me, don't talk that way. You are advocating socialism. That's exactly what you're advocating. You're just not willing to call it socialism.
I'm just advocating a slightly more progressive tax structure.
That's socialism.
If you're going to have a society of balance.
Well, there we go with the false economy. Let's see. Democracy.
Of the taxes
What's the other one? Communism. Capitalism, socialism.
Wealthy. As a matter of fact, I'd like to
all
be
the
one.
isms, really.
But I resent the very wealthy. As a matter of fact, I'd like to be one. But I do think that many of the wealthy people understand that they could probably pass a little bit of another tax break to have a little left for a head start.
Back in the old days, you would tax passive income, meaning dividend and interest income, differently than salary income.
Right now, a guy making money from dividends pays 15% tax, but a soldier over in Iraq pays 40% tax, 30% income tax.
Imagine the idea of a worker going to a foundry every day, heat, dust, working. Imagine a society that says to that foundry worker, you're going to pay more share of your income in federal income taxes than the multi-millionaire is going to pay on his or her dividends and capital gains.
Entrepreneurs and small business owners are also singled out for punishment by the estate tax, better known as the death tax.
When you die, if your assets flow to your descendants, then the descendants that receive it are required to pay a tax on that transfer. The estate tax in itself is really, to me,
That is why irrevocable trusts are so important.
American. It is a redistributionist type tax.
So you want to make sure
that
that stuff doesn't go to the estates.
Again,
taxes on estates are criminal, but and are unethical. In fact,
The estate tax in about 5 years will only apply the federal estate tax to about 4,000 estates, the real rich estates, 10 million and above. Maybe it's even less than that. But the propaganda by the Republicans and the rich have been so relentless that most people think, gee, my estate should go to my kids. The federal government shouldn't tax it.
You don't pay the estate tax unless you are already extremely wealthy.
97, there was this big push to abolish the inheritance tax. And at the time, I was like, wow, where did this come from? Now I know that the Mars family and the Gallo family and all these enormously wealthy families bankrolled an effort to abolish the inheritance tax. Forrest Mars, net worth $10 billion, lives in Virginia and wants to get rid of the estate tax. I mean,
Mars family.
How much money does you want to pass on?
Could they be in the sugar business?
The father of the founder of Microsoft, who said, Bill Gates Sr., the father of the founder of Microsoft, who said, how can I help? He said, the idea that we would eliminate the estate tax is just wrong. He says, well, I'll call Warren Buffett and George Soros and Paul Newman. And so I said, all right, you call your friends and I'll call my friends and we'll see what we can do.
I'm here talking to people in the Senate about the federal estate tax bill. The Republicans are trying to repeal it. Their constituents don't like to pay the tax, and they're trying to help their constituents by repealing it.
How's everything in Seattle?
We are developing a very serious wealth disparity. And the fact of the matter is that the disparity has developed, even though we do have an estate tax. So I hate to think how bad it would be if we hadn't had an estate tax over this time.
If we continue to reduce the estate tax on the schedule we now have, it means that we are going to have the children of the wealthiest people in this country owning more and more of the assets of this country, and their children as well. We're going to have family dynasties of a sort that we had in the late 19th century. Meanwhile, the rest of the country is going to have to...
But he's acting like that went away.
Well, the concern there for me, and what I wrote about it a long time ago, is what we saw in the last movie were the children that were inheriting this stuff, right? And they're all fucking idiots, right? They're just completely out of their minds, have no idea. And what you're seeing are these people going into high positions, corporate CEO. They're going into these positions of, trust, essentially, and blowing it, right? Like, these are not the people that you want running your country. They have no idea what it is to actually earn what they have. So they're completely out of touch with the common man. Obviously, a plantation owner is not going to be in touch with his freaking slaves. So the mentality of these people is again, my opinion is that the son is never the father. So the son of the patriot is not going to be a patriot. And his son is certainly not going to be, because they're going to be like, why the hell are we acting this way? We're not even under threat. We're not at war. Let's rob the public treasury and make it come towards. Why are we putting this towards this? Why are we supporting the military? Why are we supporting police? No, make it more come to us. We want more. We're going to get rid of this tax. Right? And then, well, you're seeing the result of this family line ruling in clandestine ways, to the point, and this includes all the royals, of course, the queens and kings, to the point where there is no integrity in the position anymore. It is solely an acting job, like we said before. So the patriots of today have to be, they're not born patriots, they're not taught to be patriots. They're going to be the ones who finally snap and try to fight for their freedom, and realize all this against these people. If they ever wake up to this, like I said, if they ever wake up to the fact that we're still in Rome, right? We're still being ruled by Caesar. If you wake up to that, well, your ability, or your all of that emotion and passion and willingness to fight for your freedom, that's not coming from your parents. Your parents have been vampires sucking off the system, or have been the victims of the vampires who had to work and never fight back, never do anything to support, what they call life. Well, for the first time, I think you're actually, as history has shown, we're getting, it's full circle. I've read it so many times on the radio, but it's from spiritual awakening to this, to go back to being dependent, and then having a spiritual awakening again. And now you have a new country with a new leaders, and the same shift happens where the spiritually awake, the patriots, or we call the ones who actually fought, have children. The children are never the father, and yet they get the same respect, the same name, the same flattering titles, right? They're expected to have the umption, or the king's mentality, but you can't teach that. So there's never going to be a generation that is produced by the generation that actually fought for its freedom. No generation that doesn't fight for its freedom is ever going to be in a position to fight for its freedom, because they don't know what it means. They've never we have never experienced even someone invading our soil, let alone, so we're absolutely, in that way as well, we're absolutely victims of this system, right? So the fight has been stolen from it. Even the notion of defending ourselves from such tools as debt has been stolen from us, yet we can read quote after quote after quote, even by the founding fathers, that say if you get yourself in debt, you're going to be screwed. Right? It's, to me, it's amazing. And I tell you, the problem is that the same families have been ruling and ruling and ruling, regardless of merit, regardless of, all they have is the name. All they have is the bloodline. This has got to stop. And, the whole United Nations is being built upon this. It was their plan all along. They've taken over the world. It's got to stop. I don't know what else to say.
Medicare and Medicaid, it's unfair. It's unjust. It's absurd.
In late August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast of the United States.
I want every American to know that their government is doing everything it can to help get relief to those in need as quickly as possible.
want to be rescued, go to the Superdome. All of a sudden, now they're telling us, go to the bridge. Oh, we have very few resources. What are we supposed to do?
It is wrong. We have no water. You could have dropped it from the sky from them helicopters.
How's a 3-week-old infant gonna be able to survive out here with no milk, no water?
Look how hot he is. He's not waking up very easy. We have regular insulin.
There were like bodies floating past my front door, you know? Bodies floating past my front door.
Americans are generous to each other, and I just hope that what the world is seeing is that even though we've been hit with something that is unlike anything that we've been hit with before.
Look at this woman. Okay, look at this woman. Is she black or white? Okay,
I'm going to go white.
You're looking at her skin color, you say, oh, she's black as Obama. But you're missing the whole point. Look at her features. She's a white woman. Right? But the color of the skin oh, well, the government's being all equal and shit. No, it's not. She's one of them. And this is what it's so hard to understand. And so hard, especially for black people, to understand what white is. Look it up in the legal dictionary. It says specifically not the color of your skin, but the blood that runs through your veins. That's what legally it meant to be white in America. Wow. Okay? When I say Obama is white, when I say she's white, when I say Colin Powell is white, because I can look at the bloodline and I can see that they're all related. Right? It's not even race. Or maybe I should say it is the actual race, the actual only people that are racist in the world, who drive all hate and who drive everything against each other. Meanwhile, they're the only actual family, the race, which means family, that is specifically in power because of their race. And this woman is white. So is Halle Berry, the first black woman to win an Oscar. What? She's one of them. Okay? And until black people figure this out, I mean, for God's sake, come to your senses. Look at Halle Berry. She does not have black features. She's not from Africa. All right? None of you are. So I mean, there has to be this waking up to this, and I don't know. I mean, it's like, again, I go to They Live. It's like these people are aliens hiding behind human skin, and you can't see them without the special sunglasses. It just bugs I don't know how to function anymore, because the truth is, it's so different.
The generosity of this country
royalty
and
in this
the caring
country.
of Americans
Shit,
for
there's
Americans.
royalty in every country. That's what a country is. I don't know what to say.
For 5 days, tens of thousands of people waited for help from a government that had seemingly forgotten them. When the president finally did show up, he didn't seem too worried about those most in need.
Out of the rubbles of Trent Lott's house, his had lost his entire house. There's going to be a fantastic house, and I'm looking forward to sitting on the porch.
While the president enthusiastically planned his future visits to Trent Lott's beach house, thousands of people waited outside the Superdome for food and water. Within a
porch monkey joke?
People already living on the edge of poverty were pushed to increasingly desperate measures to survive.
Hey, drop! Hey, drop!
It was the poor, the people that didn't have an opportunity to buy a ticket, or didn't have an automobile to get out of New Orleans. And even when we saw people calling out for help us, save us, we were slow to respond. We are one people, we are one family, we are one house. And we all must have a place at the table in this house. And I think those in high places.
John Lewis. Should we look John Lewis up and see who's related to him? Where did he get the name Lewis?
I was gonna say this guy looks familiar.
He looks. If he had white skin, he'd look like the rest of them.
Man, the pausing, the oration is so good. It's just like Obama.
Well, you know, oration is very important.
So I've come to learn.
You see, when I say
not
bullshit,
are going to get out
when I say it, bullshit,
we all sort of get out together.
You see, it sounds more better.
Yes.
Could I see your bill, your checking account balance to show how much you? To all those people that you're talking about, what did you do?
So he's going to put his in.
What did you do? Because it sounds like you didn't do anything according to those people.
I don't think that's a very hard thing to understand.
Well, aren't all these signs that we're starting to see in America that are emerging in America?
What signs?
Didn't they all apply to past civilization? We're not exempt from those rules of history, are we?
When our society collapses, it will not be for the reasons you've cited. It will be because our government has grown too big, because we have not held government down to size.
I'm nervous that because we're not asking the right questions, because we're not willing to curtail our rapid growth, because
I think it's time for you to get out of here.
We're at the stage now where the gap between the rich and poor is growing.
You've exhausted my patience.
I have.
There is no equality in life. Forget about it. We are what we are. We are created layers over each other. This is it. There are the waiters that serve you coffee. There are the cooks. There are the people who will buy the facilities and enjoy it. What can you do? That's life.
I think that what we've seen in the last 20 years is reckless because of where the United States sort of is at the top part of its trajectory going down. We use too much oil. We make too much money out of finance. There's too much debt. There's a recklessness about resources, a recklessness about borrowing, a sense that it's always going to be up, and away for the United States. The serious study just doesn't support.
America has been blessed because of its Judeo-Christian background. It's the Ten Commandments and its laws were based upon that. And that's why it's been blessed. If it gets away from that, it will fail.
In the progressive era, in the first decades of the 20th century, we had a huge gap in income and wealth between people at the top and people at the bottom and the working class. Our cities were festering. The rich were capturing more and more power and wealth. But what did we do as a society? We didn't have a revolution. We didn't turn to socialism or communism or fascism. We reformed ourselves. The progressive era was an era of reform. We adopted a graduated progressive income tax. We regulated corporations. We busted up.
Does this guy believe what he's saying?
To be clear, a progressive graduated income tax is one of the planks of the Communist Manifesto, and all 10 planks are actually law in the United States under executive order. So, fuck you.
Old age insurance. We, in other words, did not embrace socialism. We embraced reform.
The whole history of mankind is that.
Sorry, but I completely and 100% have to disagree with that. I mean, how can you not say this is a socialist system? There's no such thing as a democracy. You're acting democratic or not, but there's no democracy. There's no such thing. It's either socialism or it's not. I mean, it's either right. So, look, all right, the dollar. If you take the typical dollar bill, All right, the first thing that happens to that dollar when it's printed at the U.S. Mint is a 52, 53-cent tax that goes. Okay, that's the initial tax on every dollar that's printed. So for every dollar they print, they initially get a 53-cent tax. Now let's just say, I'm okay, I'm a dollar bill, I get sent out. I'm fresh, I'm crisp, I haven't been used, but I've already generated 53 cents in tax. I've already generated almost half, I mean, a little more than half of my value in tax that went to a government. Now I go and I get given to a bank. The bank gives me out. I get spent. I just generated sales tax. I get spent on gas. I just generated gas tax. By the end of the week, I get paid part of someone's paycheck. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. All of these things in a month's time, I've generated $10, $15 worth of tax that cannot be paid by anything except an imaginary debt that requires the creation of more money. That is much worse than socialism. That is much worse because at least you have control of the notion of the right. I mean, like I said, every dollar in its span of life. If there's a dollar that's been out there for 20 years, do you know how many dollars that's created in tax that cannot be paid because there's not another dollar in existence to pay the tax that somehow was created on that dollar, that it has to keep being printed and then digitally created as debt, as appropriations, as all. What a crock of shit. Anyone who says or thinks of the money system as anything but a way for government to continuously charge usury in the form of tax. Like I said, I mean, a dollar bill that's been constantly traded back and forth, paid is, you know how much tax? Think about that. Think about, I mean, if I even go and spend that dollar, I have to come up with extra money just to pay tax on top of it. Where does it come from? Well, obviously it comes from nothing. It comes from the good faith that people have in the people who print it. Who are the people that print it? These fuckers. It's their product. It's how we're. What an incredibly brilliant, messed up, inequitous system this is in the first place, right? So I mean, wow, I got to give it to them. Even if a dollar created 100% of itself in wealth, but these are creating 30, 50, I don't know, even 100 times, 10,000 times more money than the face value in a lifetime of continuously being traded and creating taxes. You got to think about that for a moment and think how much money every single dollar bill that's being in trade, including digitally, that don't even exist, are creating more and more taxation that can never be paid. How can you look at this as an even reasonable system unless you're these people who are the beneficiaries of it, right? I mean, I could not think of a worse monetary system or policy than what we have. I really can't. But only because I understand the end result of it. Only because I understand what's actually happening. But if you just someone who gets a few dollars every week to eat, you're not thinking about this. You don't have time to think about it. You don't have the resources to think about it. So I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm speechless, even though I'm speaking. I really don't know what the solution is here. But to me, all this is, and all the United States and every nation state is a commercial entity. The whole system is based on commerce. And they've tricked us into turning everything real and everything natural and everything we do as a job and everything has become a commercial transaction, which they can tax, which they can control, right? The Commerce Clause. Without commerce, they'd have no power. They wouldn't be able to pay their soldiers. They wouldn't be able to pay the cops who beat us up. We pay for in our taxes. They wouldn't have any power if we stopped using their system, their matrix, their money. But again, we're all taught that it's ours. They're stealing from us when they tax us. No, they're not. It's no different than you having a verbo, or whatever they call it, a house that you charge all kinds of money for someone to stay there a couple. You're going to charge as much money as you can, and then you're going to charge an extra cleaning fee because you can, and then you're going to charge this, and you're going to say, no. I mean, I guess the problem is, the main problem is, everybody can be bought off. Everybody can become one of these people.
Similar to genealogy.
That's the real
The Earth
issue.
is
That's
all molten
the
lava.
one thing I think we don't want to acknowledge.
And there's only a thin layer on
that
Earth
we're
you can
all
live on.
them.
3-4
It's
miles.
just that we've never been put in the position to
There's
be
so much
them.
down. That layer is the difference between rich and poor. You need incentives in society so rich achieve things, but the whole history of mankind is that the lava overflows and kicks their ass.
I think there are more and more really wealthy people, still small in number, who are basically saying we cannot continue this devastation of the lives and hopes and rights of tens of millions of our fellow Americans. That it's not smart from our point of view. They're multi-billionaires, but they're beginning to be fearful of the future.
My great-grandfather started the Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceutical Company.
Okay, Johnson & Johnson. Big money.
Yeah.
Old money. Old crooked money. And that money that come out of their moonshiners and all. Look at it.
There's some truth to that, man.
I know it's true. It's the same way to get it to forward. Man, see, the truth don't hurt. You know, I can tell you something, and you might think I'm an idiot. My family was one of the richest families in the world, but not with money. With love, kindness, tolerance, and patience. Qualities that's worth more than money, and you can't buy that. They taught me how to love people for who they are, not what I want them to be. See? They taught me how to get along with people. They taught me to treat people the way I want to be treated. They taught me to treat each person for who they are, not clump them together because we all different in our own way. That's the richness that I was brought up with.
So, who could have created that set of rules? I wonder. Could it be the people who do the opposite?
I know making this movie's been...
It has been complicated, Jamie. I wish that I'd shown more outward support from the very first, because, you know, I am proud of you, and I hate to have to tell you this because I cry all the time, but it's true. And I just wish I'd shown you right away how proud I was of you and how much I agreed with what you're trying to do. I wasn't born rich, so I might have started out with a very different set of ideas. And I've tried to be sensitive to your dad's ideas about, and a little bit careful, you know, somewhat considerate of him and how he likes it to be. And so that creates a little conflict and creates a little conflict about the movie.
What is so complicated about it?
When I first married your dad,
God, she hates
when I
herself.
first married
She
your dad,
sold out.
he
is what
was,
she
after
thinks.
all, a surfer.
She completely gave up all her values.
And he, hey, and I think you and he could spend time exploring that.
And now we've come to a conclusion.
Well, hey, I'm those two things
To a
too.
conclusion.
Does that make me
I know
special?
you have with him.
Well, what about the movie you made when you were my age?
When I was much younger, just out of college, I got involved in charitable giving to an anti-apartheid organization that was making a film in South Africa. It involved wages and workers in certain companies. When it aired on public television, Johnson & Johnson, I know, was included in that. And several people connected with the company started to complain to the CEO there about what's Jimmy Johnson doing? He's undermining our business. My name also appeared on the film credits, and I remember going down to meet with the CEO at the time, and I began to realize that it was a story with two sides. That yes, they didn't pay that high. Forget it. It's going nowhere.
Just keep going.
You got what I feel, and I can't give you solutions for the world.
What do you mean?
Well, if you have a way to help, you should do it. If you can affect one or two lives, you've done a good work. I don't think you are necessarily set the goal of changing the world, because it's maybe beyond what's possible.
I'm proud of my father for making his movie. It's surprising it took him so long to tell me about it, but the scolding he got from the company clearly took a toll on him. And it explains why he hates talking about money. Unfortunately, many rich people feel the same way as the executives who confronted my father. Self-preservation has given rise to the growing wealth gap in America. And the bigger the gap gets, the more removed wealthy people get from the world around them. But if you're always hiding from the problem, you're never going to find any solutions.
Well, there it is, everyone.
Here's what I would like to see. You know how there's these people that are breaking into stores? Like, you see the film footage of people breaking into Walmart and taking a bunch of shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see those people be put on a bus and driven over to Beverly Hills or wherever it is these people live. They're freaking Hamptons or they're, South Beach, whatever. And I would like to see those people told to go ahead, go into that house, that mansion, and strip it of everything, because there's no police. Everything's free, and you're not going to get in trouble for stealing from them. I think that would be good TV. That would be reality. Because being so wealthy and then having all that wealth just taken from you and left with nothing. I mean, hell, burn the house on your way out. Why not? That would be reality TV.
Man. I gotta see that now. You got two of those ideas for reality shows.
Well, maybe Jamie Johnson can become a reality TV.
Hey, Jamie.
Oh,
can you be the producer?
That was I gotta say, I like that one better than the first one.
Yeah.
Not so much better as just it was a little. I think it was more reasonable to, I mean, it actually showed some facts and figures, and then just show a bunch of spoiled frickin' brats. Although they're just adult spoiled brats. They're just, you know. But I thought he did a pretty good job. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell if the guys. Is this a sincere effort to expose this, or is it that? I mean, is it part of their, expose yourself so that nobody else exposes you? Controlled opposition, whatever you want to say. Do it in a way that makes it appear that. I mean, why so low budget? Something I can't understand. The guy's got billions. There's really only one side. There's have and have not. I don't think have not can't really be a thing. It's a lack of thing, right? It's like you're screwed or you're not screwed. Well, I don't know.
This was starting to get nationwide. These movies. He was on Oprah about it.
Oprah, yeah, she's wanting to.
Another non-black woman.
Glad we got to do that again. That was fun.
And with that, everyone, we'll see you guys later.